Alrighty. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually setting up for today's event and we are live streaming on YouTube and social media, and we're in the Zoom room. So type in where you're watching us from as we give you a little timer, which is your opportunity to round up anyone you have joining us today. Alrighty, if you just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have closed captions because some people don't speak fluent English. So with that in mind, please have a listen to this before we get started.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek menjünk képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
請到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文。
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπόλοιπους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
請到屏幕底部點擊隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Beautiful. So for those people who have just joined us today, please join us in welcoming our MC, which is Christine Francois from the Caribbean.
Wonderful. Welcome. And thank you so much, Michael, for the invitation. Listen, everyone, I am so humbled and honored to be here this evening because we have just the most amazing speaker. But before we do that, let's see where everyone is chiming in from because it's so exciting. And I know Michael will agree with me when we see all the countries that are chiming in. We've got Las Vegas. That's Joe Coco is in from Las Vegas. We've got New Zealand, Mississauga, Ontario, Indonesia. Wow, everyone. Lawton. We've got warmest welcomes. And I know that we've got folks chiming in on social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, again, I am so privileged and honored to be introducing our speaker. I have to tell you that the first time I heard the name Stephen K. Scott, I went and looked him up on Google. And do you know what I found? I found that he was a New York Times best-selling author of over 14 Christian books. That blew me away. And I've heard him speak so many times. I know he's got a heart for people. He loves people. But he's also got that business side with over 30 years. Owning businesses, more than 5 businesses in the health and beauty industries. And he was actually ready to retire when he found what he's called the biggest breakthrough of his life. Of course, no more retirement. He launched Neumi. And so this is a breakthrough that he's going to talk about this evening. And I'm really always grateful to learn at your feet, Steve. Take it over, sir.
Well, thank you so much. Have any of you ever seen a more beautiful smile? Here, let's see. We've got 11 people in the waiting room. Let me get them in.
I've got that, Steve. Leave that. That's all good.
You got it? Okay. When they pop up, it always scares me. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. Let's see. Where do I start? Remember that movie Love Story? And there was a song, and the song began with the words, "Where do I begin to tell the story of a love that is something." But that's kind of how I feel about Neumi. Where do I begin? There's so many things I could say. I know where I'll begin. I won't be doing this call next week. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be on the road. very busy. So I won't be doing it next week. And the week after that, ta-da, I think it's the week after that, we have Neumi Week. And I was in a conference meeting today, hearing of some of the things that you're going to learn. And all I can say is you're going to be excited. We'll have some new product announcements. And what you're going to hear is going to be really, really, exciting. That's from drinking my little soft drink and carbonated something or other. And but it's going to really be exciting. We've got a lineup of doctors. We've got a lineup of outside experts to talk, for example, about social media, how you can be more effective. No matter how effective you are right now with your social media, you're going to learn how to be more effective from someone that really knows how to build online. You're going to learn, like I say, about the products that we have coming up. You're going to learn about some new developments that are really amazing. So I hope you'll join us. You can go to neumiweek.com, Neumi, N-E-U-M-I, week.com. See the schedule so far. There may be some blanks there because we're still deciding on some things. But you're going to, you can sign up, and the ticket fee is $25. Now let's put that in perspective. If we were holding a live national convention this year, we're saving that for next year, but if we held it this year, it not only would cost you hundreds of dollars in transportation costs and hotel rooms, but it would be probably a ticket price of, I don't know, $125 a person, 75, who knows? But it would be expensive. $25 is going to get you in. You can be in the first session at no price and get your friends to be in at no price. But if you want to really avail yourself to what's going to be happening, then you're going to want to pay the $25. And what do we do with that $25? No, we don't write ourselves a nice big check or anything. We just pay for expenses. Everything's expensive these days. Nobody does anything for free. And so, we're no different. We have to pay our employees, the people that put things together, and it's going to be really neat, more than neat. If I didn't know what I know, I can tell you I would be there, and I'd pay, if I had to pay $200 for the information that's going to be there, I would pay it. You know, Neumi is really growing. We're very blessed. We're in 74 or 75 countries right now. And some countries are just exploding. We now have either 4 or 5 diamonds in Poland. Can you believe Poland is our #2 country in the world? Poland. If you can make Neumi work there, and we have, like I say, this week we got 2 new diamonds. We have, yes, we do. We have a double diamond there, a doctor, and he'll be one of our presenters at our Neumi Week. So things are really going amazing, and we're just so grateful. You know, in the Bible it says, "Except the Lord build your house, they that build it labor in vain." And I will tell you that as the founder, we do believe in God. We don't believe this is an ordained organization that the Lord said, "Okay, I'm going to ordain it, and Steve's now a minister." No, we're just normal people like everybody else that have a faith in our heart that God is alive and active. He's not just alive. He didn't just start the world spinning and stand back and watch it. Well, I hope that works out. No, he is active in the hearts and minds and lives and attitudes and events in world history. And so with us, I would be a fraud, total fraud and liar if I took credit for this company, for this science, for our breakthroughs. Our scientist says it wasn't just by his brain, it was by inspiration that he came up with our patented technology. and our patented formulas. You heard the word breakthrough earlier tonight. I will tell you what a breakthrough is. I was in a wonderful business. I started a business in 1976 along with a partner. There were two of us. He had $5,000, 1976 dollars, and I had a vision. And 5 months later, our little tiny company was experiencing sales of $1 million a week. That's when gasoline was 40 cents a gallon. That's when a new house was $29,000 or 35, and a car was $15,000, a new car, a nice new car. And so on those dollars, we were making $1 million a month. Why? Because we found a breakthrough product, a product that could do something that nothing else in the world could do as effectively and efficiently as our product. Now, it was higher priced. It was about 4 times the price of any competition because it was really better. It was so much more effective. It was night and day compared to what was on the market. And literally our first week on television, we were the #1 brand in that area. It was an acne product, facial product. And so we found a formula that really worked for TV. Find a breakthrough product and get the rights to it. Then find a celebrity, movie star, TV star, recording star, major athlete that really has a passion for what the product does. And then sign them up and then create a television campaign to offer the product, the breakthrough, to America and to other countries throughout the world. And we were just very successful. By the time I retired, we had done over $5 billion in sales. We had over 25 companies. We had cosmetics company. I had 5 cosmetic companies. We had hair care. We had life insurance company. We had educational company. We had just amazing companies. And once again, each product was a breakthrough. For example, we had a 3.5-hour video that your child could watch, whether they were in junior high school, or college. And if they were flunking out, they were a D student, if they would watch that and use the little techniques they would learn from that 3.5 hours, they'd go right to an A or B student. We allowed millions of kids to get better grades. And as a result, I'm sure tens of thousands got into college that would have never gotten into college. Tens of thousands graduated from college that would have never graduated. Many got into graduate school, all because they learned the effective skill sets for learning, remembering, communicating. All those things were in this little seminar done by a college professor. That was a breakthrough. It was called Where There's a Will, There's an A. Now, the other thing I look for in breakthrough products, is it going to be like a one-time wonder? You know, every now and then you hear a song from your past, and it's the only song the guy ever recorded or the female ever recorded, but it was a big hit, but they never had any follow through. That's not a legacy product. A legacy product is a breakthrough that can change a person's life. Something about their life that they really value, like their health or their daily performance or their mental, cognitive skills, things like that. And that it doesn't just impact them because their life change, it impacts the lives that they touch, their family, their friends. And then that can go on literally with a true legacy product for generations. For example, Where There's a Will, There's an A. It not only sold to millions of parents of kids and college kids and high school kids, but whole teams, colleges, universities, high school educators bought it and put students through it. Well, one guy named John Baxter was the special teams coach, at University of Maryland football team. And when he was at a different school, when he was at the University of Arizona, he had bought the product, videotapes, and he had shown them to his football players. And they ended up having the highest grade point average of any team in the university's history. So then he got hired away to University of Maryland, took his little tapes with him, and when he got to Maryland, 34 players were ineligible for playing because of bad grades. And he said, we're going to turn you guys into honor roll students. We're going to turn you into dean students, the dean's list. You're going to learn how to learn. We're just going to take 20 minutes a day until we've gone through the full seminar, 3.5 hours. And believe me, it'll be life-changing for you. Well, one of the things that the professor taught was, and this applies to everybody on this call, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to own your own business, don't wait till you graduate from college. Start one while you're in college. There's no time like right now. So why waste now? Why waste a week, a month, a year when you can be an entrepreneur right away? So he said in 3 weeks, everybody on the team is going to present a business that you can start while you're here at the university, and you can partner with one another. You can do a sole proprietorship, any way you want. Well, as they got near the 3-week mark, one of his students, athletes, who was the special teams captain, guy named Kevin Plank, came to him, knocked on his door and said, hey, coach, I know what I'm going to do, but I don't want to tell the team what I'm doing because they are my market. And Coach Baxter says, well, what are you going to do, Kevin? And he said, well, all of my undershirts, I have them made out of my sister's slips. And so they're fabric that just keeps me cooler in the summer when we're practicing, keeps me warmer in the winter. So I've got the team sizes for every member of the team, all 60 players. And I'm going to have 3 shirts in their size made for each player. I'm going to take the risk. And I'm going to give them the first one free, sampling. And he said, I know that once they do one practice in these shirts, they're going to want to buy the rest that are in their size. So I'll sell them the next 2. And if I'm successful, then when I graduate in the spring, I'll go do the same thing at other universities. And John Baxter said, hey, Kevin, that's a great idea, but you can't call your company My Sister's Slips. He says, oh, no, coach, I've got a good name. He said, what's your name going to be? He said, I'm going to call it Under Armour. Did you hear that? Under Armour. Under Armour is sold in every continent in the world. You can't go on a cruise ship. You can't walk down a mall. You can't even walk on a sidewalk in any country and not see people come by with the Under Armour logo on a hat, on a shirt. It is a multi-billion-dollar company and thousands of employees all over the world. So his was a legacy. Where there's a will, there's an A was a legacy product because Kevin took one concept from that, put it into practice, built a business that employed thousands of people, made billions of dollars for his shareholders, and it continues decade after decade after decade. He attended the seminar on his team in 1993. Well, it's been a long time, and we still see Under Armour everywhere we go. That's a legacy product. So what we have, what I'm going to talk about, is we have a breakthrough product, a product that can do something nothing else in the world can do anywhere near as well, not even close. In fact, we're like Mount Everest, and all the other competitive products are like the rocks you can put in your hands and throw, okay, by comparison. We're that big of a breakthrough. And if you haven't seen yet our unpaid medical and science board, they don't receive remuneration of any kind. They serve for free because they've seen what a big breakthrough this is. And they are from some of the world's best science and medical institutions, including Stanford, Harvard, Mayo Clinic, Sloan Kettering in New York, considered the #1 cancer research center in the country, in the world, actually. Cleveland Clinic, considered one of the very top, if not the top cardiovascular center in the world. And our guys are from all of those, Texas Heart Institute, Baylor University. There's Dr. Nicolopoulos. He joined us, a few months ago and has already made a breakthrough with our product, with his clients. Unbelievable. He lives in Athens, Greece. He was educated in the United States. He did 6 years of his postdoctorate after his doctorate at Sloan Kettering, which is one of the top. In fact, he was in cancer research. You know what he looks at? He looks at individual cells. He looks at molecules and changes in genetic expression. The guy's a genius. And I had the joy of spending time with him when we were in Athens back in May. Just an amazing man. And he made some breakthrough discoveries that we had never heard of with our product. We already knew we had a great product. We knew it was a breakthrough, but he found some things we had never seen before on a genetic basis. We have the man who started the pain management program, the doctor for Harvard Medical School. We have a double a medical doctor and PhD from Mayo Clinic who practices in China and in Orange County, California. We have a woman that's a brilliant cardiologist. She has 5 clinics in Houston, Texas, and 1 in Dubai. Why Dubai? Well, because the royal family of Arab Emirates are her clients, some of her clients. So that's what we have. In fact, I was on the phone with her a few months ago. If you look her up on our thing, her name is Dr. Annie Varghese. And we were talking about some of the things she has seen with our product that nobody's ever seen with any other product at all. And she made this statement. She said, Steve, if every cardiologist, that's a heart doctor in the world, there she is. Oh, I love Annie. If every heart doctor in the world knew what I know about this product, every heart patient and every diabetic in the world would be on this product. Now, do we cure diabetes or heart disease? No. But you know, even if you change the quality of life, whether it's cognitive, whether it's physical, whether it's stamina, you're changing that person. You know, people live according to how they go through the day. How you go through the day physically, mentally, emotionally. It's all big, right? Well, glutathione, the product we're going to talk about, affects all of that. It affects how you get through your day. I'm 77. I've been up since very early on just a little bit of sleep. Do I seem like I lack energy, enthusiasm? I'll be 77. You might want to write this down. Don't send me an email or a card, but it's a day. It's my birthday, August 14th. I'll be 77 years old. You know who should be celebrated? It's my mother. She's the one that had to go through labor. I just came out. Big deal, right? But my loving mother, who's no longer on this earth, she's at her permanent address in heaven. And she should be celebrating for giving birth, not me for being born. But anyway, so I will celebrate her on August 14th. So I'll be 77 years old. And usually when I'm in elevators and stuff and we get into guessing games on age, people never guess me for that old. They usually guess me, 60, 65, 69? No. 70? No. 75? Closer. And I say you're not an adult till you're 75, and that will soon be 2 years ago. I finally left my childhood and became an adult. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about glutathione, the most important molecule in life, the most important molecule in health, the most important molecule in lifespan, longevity, the most important molecule in mental health, the most important molecule in psychological health. I mean, it's the most studied molecule in all of medicine. Now, number two most studied molecule is vitamin C. It comes in at 78,000 studies published. Glutathione has 194,000. And every 2 or 3 months, it adds another 1,000. Why is it so studied? Because it's the gateway to just about everything that's important to health, performance, living, recovery. All of that relates to glutathione. So what is glutathione? Glutathione is a tripeptide. It is sewn together in your cells. It's manufactured by every cell in your body, and it is made up of cysteine, glycine, and glutamic acid, sewn together through a 100-step sequential step. That means step number 7 is always step number 7. Step number 29 is always 29. A 100-step sequential step electrochemical process. One step out of sequence, all of life disappears. All plant life is dependent on glutathione. All animal life is dependent on glutathione. You name it. It doesn't matter if it's a little bird, a sparrow. I love that song, His Eye is on the Sparrow. And I love what Jesus said about sparrows. He said, not a sparrow falls to the ground apart from the will of your Father in heaven. And you, so that's everybody on this phone, you are more important than many sparrows. Wow. Well, the sparrows are only about that big. We have lots of them here. It's one of the most abundant birds. I think it's over 3 billion sparrows. And so sparrows wouldn't be around. Fish wouldn't be around. We'd all be gone. Blue sky, brown planet. Okay, that's what we'd be. Well, so what does glutathione do? Performs over 400 functions in our body that we know about. It probably performs another 1,000 that we don't know about, but 400 functions that we know about. Many are absolutely critical to life. They're all critical to how you get through your day. They're all critical to how fast you recover from an illness or injury, or how long it takes to recover, or maybe you don't recover at all. It all relates back to glutathione. Now, one thing, our dear friend that will be at Neumi Week, Dr. Nicolopoulos, here's a presentation. He's going to go here. Okay, I'll unblur my screen for a second. Let's see, camera, unblur. Okay, look at this. This is part of his presentation. And we are impacting not just every cell in the body, we're impacting at the molecular level, at the genetic level. I mean, we are right at the very base. Now think about that. Think about foundations, right? Maybe you have seen a swamp, and you'll see a house on a swamp, and a little wind comes, and it goes back and forth, or sometimes it collapses. Why? It doesn't have a solid foundation. On the other hand, you look at a skyscraper, they dig down deep, they put lots of concrete, and the foundation is that it is fortified. So earthquakes come and it goes. I've been on top of a building that did this in California in one earthquake. Thought that's the only time in my life I thought I was going to die. And because I was on the top floor and I pictured 19 stories of rubble on top of me and saying, well, we found pieces, but we don't know where he is. And that That happened many years ago. But glutathione is that foundation. It's just like oxygen. We can't live without oxygen. We can't live without water. Believe me, we can't live without glutathione. And so let's talk about what glutathione does so you can see how important. We're just going to talk about 3 or 4 of the 400 functions. Function number 1 relates to oxygen transfer. When your hemoglobin, those red blood cells are manufactured, they carry iron. And that iron has a positive charge on it, either a positive 3 or a positive 2. And if it's a positive 3, which is very common, then the hemoglobin molecule cannot bind to oxygen. It's like trying to bring north poles of magnets together. No matter how hard you try, you just can't do it because they are not properly charged. Now, a north pole and a south pole go right together. Well, +3 cannot bind to oxygen if it's carrying a +3. +2, on the other hand, will bind to the oxygen and deliver that oxygen to every cell, tissue, organ, muscle in your body. So what happens? What do we do with the +3? It has to be reduced to a +2. Otherwise, we all die very quickly. Guess what makes that reduction? It's glutathione. It reduces the charge on the iron in the red blood cell to a +2. So it can bind to oxygen and do its job. Needless to say, pretty important. What else does it do? Well, we found out in the pandemic how important our immune system was. People that had a robust immune system may have gotten sick, but they didn't die. People that had a weak immune system, one that had comorbidity factors attached, they might have been asthmatic, they might have been overweight, they might have had diabetes, a lot of comorbidity factors. Well, guess what? They got even sicker than you or I got, and many died, millions died, okay? Now, glutathione is the protector of our immune system. If you have adequate levels, then your T cells, the assassins that target the bacteria or virus, and your B cells, it's another assassin, you know, your body is challenged, invaded by bacteria or virus, and they're multiplying very quickly. So they go like that, right? And guess what? If you have low glutathione levels, your T cells and B cells, in response to that challenge, they replicate, reproduce slowly. Guess who wins? The virus or bacteria. But if you have high glutathione levels, guess what happens? Then your T cells and B cells can reproduce rapidly, even explosively, meet the challenge and defeat it. That's how our immune system works. It's all dependent on glutathione. Okay, that's pretty important. What else? Glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. Everybody here, I'm going to go back to a blurred screen here. And everybody on this call has at least 200 industrial chemicals in your body right now that aren't supposed to be there. They're toxic. Many of them are highly toxic. Some are less toxic than others. And Dr. Dean Jones, who was a microbiologist at Emory University, well published. At the time, he had published over 75 papers. Today, he's probably published 125. And he was addressing a cancer symposium, and he made this statement. I'll quote him almost verbatim. He said, if we want to prevent cancer, we must find ways to increase glutathione levels in cells. Why? He said, because glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. 95, I'm still quoting him, 95% of all cancers gain traction in the body because of the broken mitochondrial DNA. What breaks the mitochondrial DNA is the chemical load in the cell. Glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. If we raise glutathione levels in the cell, we can lower the chemical load in the cell and prolong the integrity of the mitochondrial DNA. end quote. All of that was in this paragraph. He didn't know about us because we didn't exist at the time that he made that statement. But that's what we do. We increase glutathione levels in the cell and utilization. It's one thing to have it, but you're going to have to utilize it for the right things. And that's what we increase that as well. Okay, so what else does glutathione do? It's a detoxifier of the cell because it has a sticky sulfhydryl arm that's part of the cysteine molecule that is one of the three. And it attaches to the chemical and basically diffuses it, makes it so it's not going to hurt you. How do we know you have over 200? CDC in America tested 2,000 individuals of all different categories to see how many of 217 industrial chemicals they carried. Do they carry 50? Do they have 25? What is the average person? What do they all have? Well, they found out every single person had all 217. And I'm sure they were relieved to think, well, I'm glad we didn't test for 500. What happens if they have 500? No wonder we're so sick. No wonder we have such high cancer rates. We're taxing our body to the max. Now, there's over 80,000 industrial contaminants in the air, water you drink, food you eat, but there's 80,000 that we know about that make it into the environment. Okay, so glutathione is the primary detoxifier of the cell. Okay, and by the way, remember, cancer starts one cell at a time. Okay, what else? Let's see. The one that it's best known for is its antioxidant. It's an antioxidant. Now, why is that important? Every cell in your body, you have between 37.5 trillion cells. That's what some scientists are saying they had. Others say, oh no, you have 50 trillion. Hey, what's an extra 13 trillion cells? Anyway, you have at least 37 trillion cells. And every single one of them is attacked 10 to 20,000 times a day by free radicals. What's a free radical? It wants to steal an electron from the cell. And when it does that, it causes oxidative stress, which produces inflammation in the cell, which is the source and cause of most diseases, by the way, is inflammation. And it accelerates the aging of the cell. Brain cells, do you want your brain to age more rapidly, faster, or slower? Well, oxidative stress causes it and the free radicals cause it to age faster. How about your skin, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys? I mean, man, my brother-in-law is a nephrologist, and they have a big dilation center dialysis center, and that's how he spends all of his day, dialysis. And there's no end to the number of patients. I mean, they're swamped. He works his rear end off. And why is that? Well, that's what we have today. And when the kidneys fail enough, guess what you end up with? Diabetes. And guess what diabetes produces? More kidney failure and so on. So it's a vicious cycle. Dr. Mehmet Oz, a Harvard heart surgeon who had his own TV show here in America, made this statement when he did a show on glutathione long before I got into glutathione. Here's what he said. He said, glutathione, it's the antioxidant that no one's heard of, that you have never heard of, that protects you from the diseases you fear the most. Wow, that's a pretty strong statement. Well, his guest that day was Dr. David, I'm losing my name, Dr. David. Anyway, we'll just call him Dr. Dave, who was the head of disease prevention at Yale University. So pretty heavyweight. And that's what they talked about, glutathione. The problem is, it's not easy to get glutathione through your stomach. In fact, it's impossible. So what happens? Our glutathione levels decline naturally as we age by 8 to 15% per decade. So if you're healthy at 20 years old, you've maxed out. After 20, it starts a pretty rapid decline. At my age, I have less than 35% of the glutathione, so that's a 65% drop, that I had at the age of 20. But the attacks on my cell, the desperate need for those 400 functions to take place, doesn't go down as you age like glutathione, it goes up. So that deficit becomes the cause of most disease states. In fact, Michael, I don't know if you have that article and can put it out on chat.
Which one?
Probably not. Okay, I know Keith has it. There was an article in 2009 in the Journal of Cellular Biology, and the title was Low Levels of Endogenous Glutathione as the Cause. No, that's a different one. As the in the onset, the etiology, and progression of human diseases. And this article, which had over 600 scientific citations in it, but the publisher only published 300, it proved biochemically that declining glutathione levels were the cause of almost every major disease, including cancer, heart disease, diabetes, fibrosis, lung disorders, asthma, COPD, and on and on and on. And it makes the biological link. It was published in, it would, if you looked it up, you would go to, you Google search glutathione, let's see, declining glutathione levels and the etiology of human diseases. And so that's that. So let's show them what 20,000 looks like, Michael, if you can pull up that slide. And we do that because 20,000 is just a 2 with, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros behind it. That's 20,000 people. Now imagine those are free radicals and you're a human cell. You're all by yourself down on the floor and all 20,000 people empty the stands to attack you at the same time. You don't have a chance. Well, that's what our cells go through every single day. In 5 days, a single cell goes through over 100,000. Let's show them what 100,000 looks like. 100,000 attackers. Okay, that's what your cells go through. Do you think your cell survives by accident? My gosh, you've been so incredibly designed by the ultimate designer and creator that you're trillions and trillions of miracles all going on simultaneously. Okay, so glutathione is called the master antioxidant. Now there's a spectrum of free radicals. They have different sources. Some are sourced in oxygen, some in hydrogen, some in nitrogen. They have different chemical structures and chemical compositions. And all all antioxidants except glutathione are monofocused. That means they can each target one, but they can't target the other. So vitamin C might target this one, but it leaves all of these bad boys untouched. Vitamin E, that one, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, and on and on. Glutathione is called the master antioxidant because it can sequester, that means capture. It donates one of its electrons to the free radical, and that captures and sequesters the free radical. So glutathione is called the master antioxidant because it can sequester and neutralize all types of free radicals, regardless of their source structure or their chemical composition. Today, we face free radicals that our parents and grandparents didn't face. For example, those 5G towers that make this possible, they emit microwaves. Those microwaves enter your body, and when they interact with the nitrogen in your body, they produce a terrible free radical called peroxynitrite. Peroxynitrite lives 1 billion times longer than oxygen-based free radicals. It lives so long it can transfer from one cell to another. That's terrible. And guess what it targets? Your DNA. It targets the DNA. And when that DNA is broken, that cell is at risk for mutation, and multiplication. Okay, glutathione is the key. So why don't we just go out, and our glutathione levels are declining, so we need more than we can make. So why don't we go out and buy glutathione? You can buy it at any health food store in capsule form. And why don't we buy that? Because the stomach breaks it apart and won't get through the stomach. Now, to get around that, manufacturers have surrounded it, wrapped it in a lipid. Now, let's take this. We'll say this is a glutathione molecule, and it has to get into a hole in your cell. The pores in the cells are only 10 nanometers. The cells are 100 nanometers. One strand of your hair, one strand is 100,000 nanometers thick. Well, here is a glutathione molecule, and for it to be effective, it has to get in the pore in the cell, okay, and then utilized by the cell. But it gets broken in the stomach, so manufacturers said, aha, let's wrap it in a lipid, a fat. It can be a plant-based fat, it can be a animal-based, but let's wrap it. So it wraps it. Now, it cannot get into the cell. No matter how hard it tries, it can't do it. So what does it do? It sits on top of the cell, and when the energy forces are enough, some of it will penetrate into the cellular wall. So even though that can happen, it's very inefficient. I remember as a kid trying to go uphill in high gear, and you'd pedal real fast and you'd slowly go up, and you might not make it to the top. That's inefficiency, okay? That's liposomal glutathione. A little efficient, but not much. So you can get an infusion. Glutathione infusions cost here in the United States $200 to $300 each. And they give, because the half-life of glutathione averages 90 minutes, that's not that good, because you get a 6-hour bang for the buck with about a 20 to 30 hour very impotent tail on the effectiveness. What we have done, we have a technology called hydrostat. And instead of wrapping that molecule with a fat, we wrap it in water clusters, water molecules. Now, the bad news is it won't get it through the stomach. Don't worry. The particle size is so small, it instantly absorbs in your inside of your cheeks and under your tongue, in your mucosa, venous cavity under your tongue, mucous membranes inside your cheeks. And so you swish it like a mouthwash, and you don't have to actively swish forever, but you swish it 30 seconds minimum, or you can do what I do. I wake up in the morning, I go to my bottle of Swish, pour the into the applicator, pop it in my mouth, start swishing. Then I go to the bathroom. I know, too much information. Then I go over to my drawers and I pull out my contact lenses. When I put in my contact lenses, I stop swishing, but I still hold it in my mouth. Put one in, put two in, still in my mouth. Jump in the shower, swishing until it's time to shave. Stop swishing. So I end up doing it for about 3 minutes. I get lots of absorption. Do you know that my eyes have not deteriorated? My prescription is the same today as it was when I was 58 years old. And I get checked every year. I've been on glutathione since I was 58 in one form or another, but this form is by far the most effective. Now, the reason to come to Neumi Week, you're going to hear about something that's going to knock your socks off that we're doing with our NutraSwish. And it is crazy good. It is unbelievable. Another big breakthrough. You're going to hear from the doctor, our genetic doctor, go through his presentation, and you're going to see. I'll tell you one thing that happens. The genes that create the enzyme antioxidants, catalase and superoxide dismutase, begin to express. They underexpress, and guess what? On the product, they express what they were designed to at a normal thing. So the increase in catalase and superoxide dismutase, you don't have to take a pill for. If you raise your glutathione levels, it happens automatically. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so you'll learn all of that at that. So now what happened was I knew if we really had what we thought we had, we would improve very significantly athletic performance, which we did. And let's show them Bill Gillespie real quick, and then we'll go to the faces. Okay, this is Bill Gillespie. He was strength and conditioning coach for the Seattle Seahawks, an NFL football team. His whole life, he was an amateur weightlifter. Here in the middle picture, he's breaking one world record. I won't tell you how much he lifted there, but we'll go to the chart. In 2008, you can see that little mountaintop there. He set the world record at 804 pounds. And I can't remember how many kilos that is. But then in the next 10 years, lean muscle went down, inflammation went up, and he could only lift heavy once a week instead of 4 times a week. And his lift went down to just above 700 pounds. That's still a lot for a 59-year-old. He was 59 in 2018 when I called him. And I said, how you doing? He said, not good. He said, I can only lift about 700 pounds. I said, Bill, for a 59-year-old, that's pretty good. In fact, ask anybody at any gym. They'll tell you that's amazing. But he says, yeah, it's a world record for a 59-year-old, but I don't get to compete with the elite guys anymore because they're pushing 800, 850 pounds. And I said, well, I think we got something that's going to change that. So I sent him our product, told him how to use it. See, the sun's going down. I apologize. And he got on it, and look what happened. That's right. He went from 725 lift to 1,050 pounds at 60 years old, a whole new world record. At 62, at his retirement meet, he benched 1,129.8 pounds. That's 512 kilos, 40% more than he was able to lift in his prime when he set his first world record at 804 pounds. 40% more 13 years after his prime. How does that happen? You reduce oxidative stress and everything that goes with it. And when that happens, everything works a lot better. You build more lean muscle, even as a 60-year-old. Everything works better. Oxidative stress is our mortal enemy. Inflammation that it produces, our mortal enemy. Accelerated cell aging, our mortal enemy, produces all these disease states and so on. And glutathione's at the foundation. Raise glutathione levels and things get better. Now let's go ahead. We found out that it works just as well on the biggest organ that we have, which is living organ, and that's our skin. It works on every organ, every tissue, every cell. But move in tight on that, Michael, please. Thank you, Michael, for your help. Michael is amazing. Okay, so this lady was 58 years old. I sent her the product. I put some in spray bottles back in 2018. Said, spray your face 5 times a day for 8 weeks. Well, she only did it for 7 weeks before she sent me the photo. I sent that to my former formulator. Like I said, I had 5 different cosmetic companies at one time or another. And the formulator that we had was the president of the American Society of Cosmetic Chemists, and he became the head formulator for Allergan, which created Botox. He looked at this picture and he said, Steve, she's had a facelift. There's no product in the world that can do that, not even Botox. I said, we do it. I said, she lives on a farm, works a farm, and she's never had a dermatology procedure. She's never had any fillers. She's never had Botox. This is just her face. He said, well, then you're doing something nobody else in the world is doing. That's right. We're delivering glutathione to skin cells. And that wasn't the only one. We're going to run through some pictures real quick, and then we're done. That's Sherry. Here we go. Next. Those were my hands. I was only 71 then. I sprayed my right hand, but not my left hand, for 12 weeks, 4 to 5 times a day, and look at the difference. Next. This is an 84-year-old Neumi customer, And I said, how many times, this was in 4 weeks. I said, how many times, she's 84, how many times did you spray your face? She said, I sprayed and I swished a lot. She said, I had bottles all over the house, and whenever I passed one, I used it. Well, look at the difference. She took at least 20, 30 years off of her face. Next. Okay, this is another 84-year-old. She said, I had old lady legs. Now I have young lady legs. And boy, does she, 10 weeks. What a difference. Next. This was an esthetician in Miami, Florida. She owned her own skincare salon. She didn't wait 8 weeks. She waited 8 days. She said, Steve, Ryan, because Ryan was with me at the time. She said, I couldn't wait 8 weeks. Look at what it's done. Where did my pores go? Look how smooth. Look at the lift it's giving me in my eyes. Look how much. Well, we have a group of 4 adjectives that you got to memorize, and we'll tell you what they are in the next picture. Here you go. Okay, she's 60 years old. Now, it looks like she's had a facelift, but she hasn't. That's 1 month. Look at her at 6 months. That's when we met her in our office. We thought she's about 42, 45 maybe. She's 60. But here are the 4 adjectives you need to write down. Younger, tighter, brighter, smoother. Universal effect of our product. Younger, tighter, brighter, smoother. Okay, now you'll see that again. Here we go. There you go. You see the before and after. Next. Okay, this was 6 weeks. This man's 67. Brighter, tighter, younger, smoother. Next. That's woman has a moisture problem. Well, we also nanosized hyaluronic acid, and so it took care of that. This is only 10 days, and this is a very young woman, but look how it evened out her skin tone and diminished her pores. Her face looks perfectly smooth. 10 days. Next. She's 80. She was 80 at the time. Today she's 86, and she looks better than ever. And that was after just 3 weeks. Next. Okay, she was 65, but she was a smoker. That's why her skin's so bad. But look, 8 weeks, she looks better. 6 days. Wow. Next. She's in Nigeria. Her daughter, a doctor, gave her the product. Look what happened with the upper half of her face. The melon production was better managed. That's what produces the black, really blackness. And she looked younger and brighter and happier than ever before. Next. We're almost done. Next. Okay, this is one of my favorite. He's 94 years old, 94. And he says, I love the new look, but more than that, I feel like the guy on the right, not the guy on the left. And that's what we hope for everybody. Next. This is our last one. She's 87 and hungry. Now she'd be 88. It was last year when we met her. And she sprayed 5 times a day for 7 weeks. Look at the difference. I mean, nothing can do that. A facelift can't do that. Okay, why do we show you that? Because we not only have the world's best skincare product, but the same biochemical action that's working on those skin cells so effectively, that same action from our hydrostatic glutathione is working in your heart, your brain, your kidneys, every tissue, every muscle, every joint, and you will see the difference. And that ends our little time. Michael?
Thank you. Unmuted. Thank you, Steve. Great presentation, guys. And if you want to look in more detail at all the testimonials and information Steve was talking about, there's one official Facebook group run by the company, and that is called Neumi New You. So if you go there right now, search Neumi New You, and then you will need to answer a couple of quick questions and agree to group rules, and you can be in looking at many, many, many more testimonials. So